Welcome back to the Eye of the Tiger. It takes a slew of people to effectively run a city, but it takes one strong person to lead them. A man who has led our great city of Nashville with grace and honor. A man who has taken risks and won. A man who has vision and conviction. The 6th Mayor of Nashville, Tennessee. Please welcome to the show, Mayor Karl Dean.
Kimberly, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
I was glad to be here. It's a nice set and good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. Second term.
Second term.
All right,
yeah,
congratulations.
About three months into it, I guess.
Right, how's it feel?
Good, good. I mean, it's it's a great job because it's a great city, and it's a type of job where you feel that you're working on things that matter to people, that you can help people, and you get to see results on a lot of things you work on pretty quick. I mean, there are frustrating times, but I tell people all the time that I go to work happy every morning, and I stay happy till probably around noon, then something happens. Yeah, and then, but it's a wonderful job, and I really enjoy it. I feel honored to be able to serve.
Well, we're honored to have you because you've been doing a great job. Your first term was awesome. And during that, we had the 1,000-year flood,
right,
which you gracefully led us through. You know, I remember that day because we were supposed to have the forensics award ceremony, and somebody called and said the mayor said everybody should stay home.
That's
you know,
right. Yeah.
So when I looked out, I could see why. You know, but it was quite the storm.
Yeah, when I look back on that, I mean, I think really it was obviously a very tragic event in many ways. 11 citizens died here in Nashville, and we had about $2 billion of damage to private property and hundreds of millions of dollars of damage to public property. But to me, the story of the flood will always be the response of the people in Nashville. The fact that the people in Nashville stepped up in a way to help each other and to help uplift the city is probably, I've never been prouder of the city than during the flood and the weeks afterwards. I mean, it was people volunteered, 20,000 plus. People were extremely generous. People looked after their neighbors. They looked after strangers.
They did.
And it happened everywhere in the city.
Yeah, and you were there orchestrating that, and every time I turned on the television, I saw you, with hands on, getting your hands dirty and really helping the citizens of Nashville. And now it's 18 months later, and I'm sure there's still some cleanup that's still going on.
There still is.
What's the status?
Well, I
of
mean,
the
there's
flood
some
recovery?
things we have. The money for FEMA to do the buyouts of homes that were severely damaged, that are in the floodplain, at risk of flooding again, is going forward. We were very aggressive about getting it up and running, and we had a little hitch when basically Congress didn't fund it for a while, and then that funding issue's been resolved, and we're now moving forward. There are still pockets of the city that, or people who are not back to where they need to be. There are some businesses, and we will be opening Opry Mills. The mall there will reopen shortly, but that's been closed now for a long time.
Yeah.
And parts of it have opened, but that's hopefully going to get all reopened relatively soon. That'll be a major boost to the economy for employment, sales tax. But we're getting there. The city has been remarkably resilient during all this.
Yeah, it is. And when we do open Opryland, it will be a boost to the economy because the whole country is going through economic problems, and Nashville is no different. But besides reopening Opryland, what are we doing to weather the economic situation here?
Well, I mean, Nashville is certainly not immune to the effects of the recession. I mean, our unemployment during the depths of the recession was over 9%. We went through a period where the capital markets, as everywhere, and they still are pretty tight, sort of curtailed any development or new construction. We have seen a lot of activity recently. I mean, whether you're looking in Germantown or over in Elliston Place or down the Gulch, there are a lot of apartment buildings being built. We've continued to move forward and progress as a city. I mean, obviously the investment in the new convention center has been big, and there's,
huge.
There's at any given time there's somewhere between 800 and 1,000 people working there. We have continued to focus on our priorities. I mean, we've increased over the course of 4 years I've been in office funding for public education by over 12%. I think that's important. We've made a lot of cuts elsewhere, but education and public safety have been the two areas that I've really worked hard to protect, and I think we have. I'm hopeful that this next year we're going to see economic growth nationwide, and I think Nashville will be one of the cities leading the way. Unemployment now is we're doing much better.
Yeah. Well, the city center will help us for sure, because once we get all those businesses there, there'll be people working within those shops and throughout the city center. But now you're pro small business and
Yes.
minority business
Right.
and women's businesses.
Yep.
Okay. How does that translate into contracts for the city center, or does that?
It does. I mean, we've actually set goals when we went through the approval process with the council to have a certain percentage of the work go to small, disadvantaged, women-owned businesses, and we have more than met those goals. We've also been involved in setting up programs to help train workforce to work on the project, and that has been very successful. But we have really done well in terms of meeting and exceeding the goals we have set for small and minority-owned and female-owned businesses.
And what were those goals?
Usually in the area of around 20%. So but you're also seeing now with the new Omni Hotel project. I mean, Omni's obviously is entirely, we're giving them some tax incentives, but it really represents about a $250 million private investment in our city. And Omni is adopting very good policies too. So that has been good for the city. And then as a city, we really, one of the first things I worked on was changing our procurement policies to try to encourage more participation with metro business by small businesses, disadvantaged businesses, and that's been a big success. I mean, we've got a lot of new companies and people signed up with the city to do business with the city. Unfortunately, there was a part of the time we had less business because we were just cutting back so much and during the depths of the recession, but that's picking up, and that's been very successful. I mean, I think it's important that we do what we can to make sure that everybody's participating in the good news that's taking place here, and so that's an exciting thing.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of good news taking place. But as we do all of this development with Music City, in terms of the center, we'll also kind of have an influx of people coming here.
Right.
Now, there's no secret that Tennessee has the smoothest roads in the whole state. I travel all across the country, and I know when I've come back to Tennessee, because the roads are so smooth. But what about mass transit?
We're taking steps right now. We have a study that we'll be releasing or sharing some results on in mid-December. It's called it's sort of an east-west study based on the West End corridor, which is, for this study is defined as being 5 points in East Nashville going to White Bridge Road in West Nashville. And they'll be making some recommendations as to what we can do to have a mass transit alternative there. And I am committed to working both regionally and locally for mass transit solutions. I mean, Nashville as a city, we are at a point now where, I mean, it's still, compared to a lot of major cities, it's very easy to drive here.
Yes,
but there are moments in the day where, whether you're on I-65 going north or whether you're going on any of the interstates or certain of the major roads, and West End being one of them, you see congestion.
Right.
You also want to have an option for young people who come to our city and families that are struggling to get by, for them to be able to get around without using a car and paying for the gas and paying on the insurance costs and all that. We're always going to have cars here, but we need to be competitive with other major cities and having transit options. I think the cities that we compare ourselves most to, Charlotte, Austin, Texas, both of those cities have started light rail systems in the last 2 years. So we need to do it.
Yeah, because we have the Music City Circuit, right? The train.
Well, there's a Music City Star, which is a train that runs on hard tracks from downtown Nashville to Lebanon. And that actually pre-exists since I became mayor. The ridership of that is up. It's doing well, but it is not, that doesn't accomplish everything we need for the city.
Because if you ask people to take away their cars, then you have to really provide serious transportation that runs on a regular basis so they don't feel confined.
Well, yeah, and it's going to take us a long time to get to the point where a person could just live in the city and not need access to a car. I mean, people will, this will be a car city for as far as we can see in the future, but we need to have options for people. I mean, we need to. I mean, it's good for people who are driving cars that there's transit options because it keeps the roads from being, all cluttered up in traffic.
Right.
But we'll always have automobiles here. I think we're not in a position where we're going to have any time in the foreseeable future, say a subway system or a real train system that will rival something like New York or Boston or something like that.
Yeah, definitely not. But just more ease for people to get around on
Right.
a regular basis would be great. What about Amtrak? Is there any thoughts
Well,
about
no.
Amtrak?
Well, I mean,
coming in
that's
here?
really a sort of state and federal issue, but right now there is not any projections of them building, the rapid train they've been talking about. That pretty much bypassed most of Tennessee, but nothing's happening with that right now either. And I know that it certainly would be in my hopes that if the federal government does start building a lot of trains going between states, that Nashville would be one of those places that would be a destination. I mean, clearly we're a huge destination for tourists, for conventioneers. Right. People want to come here. So I hope they would consider us.
Right, because it would certainly boost our economy.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But you're into health.
Yes, well, I'm trying. I'm trying.
Well, you're doing a good job, because Tennessee has the second highest obesity rate in the country.
Tied with Alabama. Yep.
Oh, tied.
For adults, and number 4 from the bottom for kids. And, it's a serious issue because if this was anything other than weight, people would be treating this like an epidemic.
Right.
Because it affects young people and adults in terms of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer even. And so we owe it to our kids to do everything we can to make sure that we're taking this seriously and we're taking steps. It's a long-term project to change the way we live, be more active, eat healthier, so that people have longer, happier lives.
Yeah, get rid of the meat and threes.
Right. Well, I don't want to change everything, but I just think, I love meat and threes, but you've got to balance it out with exercise and then, balancing the way we eat. I love to exercise. That's easy for me to do. The eating part, I'd rather have, fried chicken to me sounds pretty darn good anytime.
Mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes and all
Collard
that.
greens,
But it is a serious health issue. It really is.
It is.
Yeah.
No, it is. And you took it on in a bold way.
Well, I mean, I think we've made a start. And what it's to me, it's sort of like the anti-smoking campaigns, where I think it's repetition. It's telling people this is serious. It's asking people to change lifestyles a little bit, and that takes time. It's going to be going on long after I'm gone. But we need to start. And the battleground on this issue is the South. It's the Southeast. Right. And Nashville, I think, is ideally situated to be a city that helps lead the Southeast out of this, and that we can be one of the leaders showing that you can have a healthy lifestyle, live in this part of the country, and still enjoy the food that we have here, but you just got to do it moderately.
Yeah, that's true. Now, you were quoted as saying that you wanted Nashville to be the greenest city in the Southeast.
Right.
How are you going to achieve that?
Well, I mean, there's a variety of things we need to do. It's a really, really big ambition, and I understand that. But I think as a city, we should set our aspirations and our goals high, that is worth striving for. Some of the things we've done, we've worked hard to make sure that our buildings that we build are LEED certified. We've done it with buildings that we weren't required to do it with, and the convention center, I believe, will come in as LEED certified also. We are doing a lot with open space and creating more parks and greenways. We have, for the first time, have an open space plan to buy land and preserve it.
Which I think is awesome.
Right. And I think the transportation component, where we're working on mass transit solutions, also fits into this. There's a lot for us to do, but there's a huge pent-up desire to see it get done. I mean, it's one of these things where I have been very pleasantly surprised by the huge amount of interest the public has in having Nashville be a greener city.
Right. Because with the open land plan, isn't it like in the four corners of Nashville or in Davidson County, actually having reserved lands and then having a greenway that goes into a green downtown? Right.
We're trying to have more, make sure that we have open green space and parks available to our citizens all over the city. I mean, Nashville as a combined county city government, the geographical area that I'm mayor of is 503 square miles. And so there are parts of the county that need more resources than others right now that haven't gotten them, and we want to make sure we're taking care of everybody. but this is also a unique time because of the recession. This is kind of an opportunity. Because of the recession, we've identified certain land purchases we could make that we probably couldn't have afforded 5 or 6 years ago. We might not hopefully be able to have afforded them 10 years from now when the economy is really humming again, but right now we can. And so I think it's prudent for us to take advantage of that and to put some land aside so that our children and grandchildren can have access to it.
Well, you are doing so many wonderful things for the city, you
Well,
know. I mean, you really are. Education, and you have this music program. I mean, I'd love to talk about all that, but we're running out of time here. I do want to ask you one question,
All right.
though. If you could wave a magic wand and you could fix or change anything in Nashville, what would that be?
Well, the thing that I would want the most for our city is for us to have a public education system that attracts people to our city. That when a young couple or a business is looking at relocating anywhere in the country and they're balancing all the things they balance, we got so much going for us in terms of quality of life and the appeal of our city that they say, we want to go to Nashville because the schools are really good. And that we give every child in Nashville an opportunity to succeed in life. That's what I want more than anything. I'd give it anything for that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to have you back to cover
I'd
some
love
of
to come
those
back.
other
Love to
issues.
come back.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you.
I really appreciate you carving out the time. We have to flip to commercial, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll visit with two of the South's most respected African American artists, the men of Atelier 427. Stay tuned.